Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Sam Sugar again. We are doing an unusual victim video today. This video is originating from the great state of Oregon. And so without further ado, I'd like our participants to introduce themselves. We'll start with Bob.
Hello, thanks for doing this. My name is Bob Foulon. My wife, Terry, and my wife's father is the victim. He was put into guardianship in 2017 in Washington County, Oregon.
Thank you, Bob. Let's go to Rose.
Hi, my name is Rose Henley.
Rose, you're going to have to speak up a bit more.
Hi, my name is Rose Henley. I am out of Clackamas County. Our longtime friend and neighbor, Wayne Falk, was put into guardianship, and we've been trying to assist them now for a number of years. Okay, and for Sue and Marky, you're going to have to speak up a lot more than that. Next, we're going to go to Sam.
Howdy. My name's Sam Cook out of Hillsboro, Oregon, and it's my mother that's tangled up with this guardianship. And we've tried everything to get her out of this mess, but we haven't been successful in any way yet.
And when did this guardianship begin?
That's 17?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Thank you for joining us. Let's go to Rhonda.
Thank you again, Sam. My name is Rhonda Butler. I live in Happy Valley, Oregon. That is in Clackamas County. My mother was fraudulently given Ann Yella as a conservator in March of 2019, and we have been working diligently to get her removed. And now there is a guardianship hearing that was just submitted for my mother as well.
Let's go to Sandy.
Hi, thank you, Sam. My name is Sandy, and I live in Clackamas County, Oregon. I'm really good friends with Wayne Falk, and I've been very involved with him for like the past 6 years. I believe his guardianship was taken over 2017, and just working to keep him safe and in his house, and fighting against the corruption of Ann Yella, Farley Piazza.
Well, thank you for joining us. Let's go to Sue.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having us. My name's Sue Martin. I live in Cornelius, Oregon, and Sam's mother is also my aunt. So she was put into guardianship / conservatorship in March of 2018. We have tried multiple ways to try to get this changed, and nothing is working for us.
Thank you. And lastly, we're going to go to Marky.
Hi.
Hi.
Marky Trimble, and I'm a longtime friend and girlfriend now of Sam Cook. And it is his mother that is, that we're trying to get out of this guardianship. So hopefully this will help.
Okay, well, I thank all of you for joining us on this rather unique episode of our victim videos. One of the things we try to accomplish in these videos, which are intended to expose what's going on, not just in Oregon, but all over the country, is the Guardian Playbook. Those of you who've read my book, Guardianships and the Elderly, The Perfect Crime, or who have perused our website, AAAPG.net, know that I've written about this extensively. So let's talk for a few minutes about how this all started. And I think if the three folks in each of my frames can now get together, because we're gonna ask some questions about hand raising, okay? So Sue and Marky surround Sam like that, good. I'd like to see, by a show of hands, how many of you believe that your guardianship that you're so upset about is corrupt? Every single one of you. How many of you believe that the judge is acting in a way that just doesn't make any sense? By a show of hands. Uniformly. You should know that the surveys we've done at AAAPG uniformly say the same thing. How many of you have seen that family dysfunction led to the guardianship? Most of you, all of you, almost, I guess. So, Bob, I'm going to start with you because you're the easiest to deal with. There's only one of you in frame. Tell me about how this all started for you.
Yeah, my father-in-law was diagnosed with dementia, with behavioral disorder. And at that diagnosis, the doctors and my wife had been looking out for him. She has three adult sisters, so there were 4 daughters. And she was told by the medical professionals that Dad really needed a guardian and conservator at this point. So that started the process for her to try to meet with her sisters. The dysfunction was the question of whether Dad should be able to continue living at home, which is what he wanted. He wanted to be at home with his dog. He has a very wealthy man. He has the means. He owns his very lovely home, but he required care. So visiting angels had been retained to provide care for him, very expensive, and that created the dysfunction. There were sisters who believed that the decision should be made through majority rules, and they worried that my wife was on the side of her father's wishes. And so it just went nowhere. They tried to mediate through a city program. Participation didn't continue past the first session. It was just a fundamental disagreement that couldn't be overcome. There were sisters who believed that people with dementia shouldn't live and that it was cruel to keep somebody with dementia alive. And so anyway, that led to the dysfunction. My wife felt that she was being negligent not to give her dad the protection he needed, particularly from the siblings and their desire to get him out of the house into a facility. So she started the process in the courts, and it's been nothing but a horror show since then. Thinking that like a refugee, you go to the courts to get protection only to find that you're in the hands of predators has been very troubling. We've been dealing with it for going on 3 years now.
And just to make you feel a little bit better, that's a very common story, that the person who initiates the guardianship rues the day they ever thought about it.
Well, you know, Sam, it's interesting. My wife hired an attorney and offered to serve as guardian for Dad at no cost. It was objected to by one of the siblings. And that's where the problem started, because her objection led to this.
Sure. And that opens the door for the judge to appoint one of his buddies.
Yeah, it opened the door for all of this.
Right.
Yeah, but looking back, I don't know that dysfunction could have been avoided. It truly was a fundamental belief system about what to do with an elder with dementia.
Yes, and it's very common to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're
Sure.
going to come back to everybody, of course. Rose, how about you? Tell us about that situation that you were involved in.
My husband was friends.
As loud as you can, please.
Sure. My husband's family had been friends with Wayne Falk and his family for over 40 years. Wayne Falk had been coming to us and members of the community complaining about his sister-in-law, Linda Falk, that she was neglecting him, stealing from him. We reported it to APS. APS didn't do much of an investigation, basically told us Linda Falk started crying, that she was innocent, and they believed her. She quickly turned the tables and started accusing the community. The community ended up getting an attorney for Wayne. It turned out that he was getting Social Security, he was getting money from SAFE. He had a $500,000 trust that was nearly depleted by the sister-in-law. All things that Wayne was unaware of. He kept getting threatened to be kicked off the home that was left for him in a trust by his parents. So the community stepped up, got the attorney for Wayne to protect him and his rights. His sister-in-law was worried about being, I guess, arrested for the theft that it looked like she committed.
Let me stop you there. The usual story, which you're repeating, is A, trusts don't mean a thing. They're easily broken by and routinely broken by the court. And B, anybody who stands in the way of this steamroller of guardianship is labeled with every nasty name you can think of. Evildoer, criminal, potential murderer, poisoner. And if you haven't been accused yet, give it a little time. That's how the system works, by vilifying anybody who gets in its way.
That's correct. My husband and I were arrested with the allegations of theft against Wayne, which is completely absurd. So we're dealing with that right now. So it's been a nightmare.
Total nightmare. Thank you. I'm going to switch over now to Marky and Sue and Sam. You're all involved in the same case, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's have Marky talk to start right now. Marky, when this all started, what did you think was going on, and what did you think was going to happen?
Well, his nieces, which are three of them.
What's his name again?
Sam.
Sam what?
Oh, Cook.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, his nieces.
Ethel Cook is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ethel Cook.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is the victim.
And they would be her granddaughters.
Yeah. Three of her granddaughters, we all would go visit, and some of us would like stop in, probably 3 or 4 times a week, constantly call, all that kind of stuff. She was living on her own, doing very, very well. Then all of a sudden, 3 of the granddaughters had said that she was, not remembering, and they were worried about her. So Sam and I did not see this. So he decided he would go and stay with her for a few days, maybe a week, and just see for himself. And after about the second night or second day, all of a sudden there was a restraining order on him. So that got him out of the picture for 60 days, which they dropped the day of the hearing. So he never got a chance to talk, but that's their way of getting him out of the way. They went ahead and got a third party for a guardian. And I mean, it's just
a professional guardian.
Yeah, after they tried doing it, one of the granddaughters was actually got a temporary guardianship.
And we objected.
And we objected. She had Ethel basically in lockdown, 24 hours. Nobody could come in and see her.
So what you have brought up now is the cudgel, the weapon that the court uses, one of them anyhow, of getting back at you and making you wish you never heard of any of this, which is the isolation orders, which ruins people, destroys the ward, and leads to unbelievable complications for the family and the ward, not just in terms of psychological damage, but in terms of hiring lawyers to fight these crazy orders, the stay away orders. And that is a uniform feature of all of these corrupt guardianships, because the judges know they can get away with anything because no one's monitoring, no one's supervising, and because they're all part of a fraternity. They all know each other and they cover for each other. And the reason I think it should be blatantly obvious. None of the wards we're talking about today are poor, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Every one of them has money. And when their guardianships are finished, that money will be all gone in legal fees to dozens of lawyers. The average family hires 6 lawyers to fight back against a guardianship. That's an average. I've known of some as many as 10. Not one of them ever helps. So that bankrupts the family, it isolates the ward, and it enriches the court predators like crazy. It's the same everywhere. So Marky, I'm gonna switch to Sue now on your side, and then we're gonna come back to Rhonda and Sandy on the other side. So Rose, if you can substitute one of them for your chair.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome. Sue, go ahead.
When the granddaughters filed their emergency petition for guardianship and conservatorship, Sam and I found attorneys. That's the start too. And we cross-petitioned for him to be his mom's guardian and for me to be the conservator. Well, the family couldn't work that out. So that's when a third neutral party was proposed to be the guardian and the conservator. And it turned out to be Aniela, who is the common denominator with all of us that are in your meeting today. And my aunt went from living independently in her home that was paid for to having 8 to 12 hour a day caregiver, costing her often in excess of $10,000 a month to live in her own home. And it's just devastating. We're not allowed to see her or have any private conversation with her without a caregiver being present.
Right, and are you having to pay extra for the privilege?
No, I have been going over once a week and meeting with her, and we puzzle. She does jigsaw puzzles. We puzzle and talk.
And tell me, why are you so dangerous that you can't be allowed in the same room with your aunt?
Well, I did connect her with Disability Rights of Oregon. And so hence I was put on the naughty list. I had concerns about her medication and the dosage and the time of the day it was given because she seemed to be dehydrating and getting more confused.
And the moment you voiced those concerns, that's when all this happened, right?
I was totally cut out. I have had no, I've never had any involvement with Aunt Snooks's finances. So I cannot get that guardian allegation or criminal charges or investigation against me. So my retaliation is that I'm cut out. I'm no longer allowed to communicate with the guardian at all, period. She doesn't.
Which of course means that the blatant over-medication that's being performed on her is hidden. It hides the evidence of the physical abuse that she is no doubt getting in this facility.
She's in her own home.
At her home, that's fine, I get it. But generally speaking, the isolation orders are written for a very good reason because it hides everything that's going on. You will find that the financial reports, which are supposed to be done at least on an annual basis, are going to be very, very late if they're ever done at all, and they will be wrong. They will be fraudulent.
Well, there's a lot in there. There were times when it was costing her $55 an hour to spend time with her own family, based on the accounting reports that were turned in after.
Can I tell you something? It's actually pretty cheap. Here in Florida, it's $150 an hour.
Well, she had to pay for the time that the caregiver at the rate of
course.
$30 an hour.
I'm just being facetious. It's
Oh,
ridiculous.
it is. It's totally ridiculous when we are capable of picking her up, taking her to a family function, and taking her back home.
Okay,
Without
I'm
that.
sorry, go ahead, finish, please.
That's okay. I can just get wound up. So maybe switch to Rose.
So who do we have now?
Rhonda Butler.
Rhonda, please speak up if you can.
Rhonda Butler.
Welcome.
I'm here because my mother, Ruth Huglin, was fraudulently appointed Aniela as a conservator behind her back and my brother's and my back with no knowledge of this action going on. How it started is my mother's husband died in 2015 and I was going to my mom's house every week to help her with grieving, making sure the bills were being paid because he had been paying the bills. After doing that for 2 years, I wanted my mom to be moved closer to my brother and I because she lived at least an hour, hour and a half drive away. And it was me that was always going to her house to help her, to rescue her, nobody else, no other family member. So once we got her moved February of 2017 into a lovely retirement community in a center, but she has her own apartment, 1 bedroom, where she maintains it beautifully with all of her furnishings. And I might add that my mom was a retired nurse. She invested her money wisely. She is one of those elderly, wealthy people that Aniela victimizes. So my mom had plenty of money to live where she was living. But I did notice she was having some memory issues, but she could still function and maintain her own hygiene, get dressed, carry conversations, etc. There was a marital trust.
Let me interrupt you for just 1 second. Robert Blount has joined our meeting. Robert, welcome. Please turn on your camera in the left lower corner of your screen. Please continue, Rhonda.
Okay. It's not Robert Blount, it's Bunny, his wife.
Okay.
I'm just
Turn on your camera. We're in the middle of the meeting. We'll call on you soon. Go ahead.
Okay, so what had happened, my mom had put her niece, my cousin, as power of attorney over my mom's assets and healthcare if the time needed. So when I moved my mom to be closer to us in February of 2017, my niece or my cousin all of a sudden said, well, I want to activate that power of attorney. And I said there was no reason to activate it. My mom was still independent and still is to this day. But she went ahead and convinced my mom it was in my mom's best interest. Once she activated the power of attorney over the assets, then she completely stopped my mother from gifting my brother and I, which my mom has done every year for 15 years. And so fast forward, my mom's attorney was not doing anything to go after her marital trust, which consumes about $300,000 to $350,000. And another side note, to this day, she still has not received a dime of that money. So what my mom did is she fired her attorney. And once she found out what her niece was doing, she said, this isn't what I wanted. I just wanted you to help assist me if I needed it. I didn't expect you to take over. So when my mom did gift my brother and I some money, and it was only $3,000, normally she gifted us anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a year. My niece became enraged, contacted Adult and Protective Services, didn't state that my brother was exploiting my mom, just said that I was, because I'm the vocal one. So then I was investigated by DHS, unsubstantiated, and there was nothing that they could find on me. However, that's what they do. They filed approximately 6 fraudulent claims against me for exploitation, elder abuse, so on and so forth.
And what I will say now is you have introduced another aspect of all of this, which is how DCF, DHS, Adult Protective, all of them play a central role in the guardianship abuse process. And instead of protecting an individual in their own home with the people who love them, they initiate reports that wind up instituting these fraudulent, corrupt, criminal guardianships. And it's tragic, tragic. Rhonda, I want to move over to Sandy now, if we can. And Ms. Blount will get to you after that. Sandy, please speak up.
Hi.
Hi.
So I got really involved with Wayne Falk, and pretty much I was a neighbor. I'd give him rides to the store and stuff, and then he started telling me about his evil sister-in-law that wouldn't have him get any food at all. She'd drive it up. It was all frozen food. Give him $10 a week if he was bad. If he was good, he got $20 a week. He basically was terrified of her. So I started reaching out to neighbors and asking what is going on with this elderly gentleman, and got involved and wanted to see what we could do to help him out. And I kept thinking, he's got to have Social Security. He's got to have something. That's when I met Rose and Jack. We got involved, and the more we got involved and found out the evilness of his sister-in-law and got some bookkeeping records and saw tons of theft out of the trust, we then took it to the sheriff's office and turned it into the sheriff, hoping that they would do something about it. And that's after having like Adult Protective Services come out and check on Wayne. They thought everything was fine. They thought Linda was fine. Turned it in, and then all of a sudden we were the bad guys. And so then they went after Rose and Jack, and Bunny luckily got involved and was bringing Wayne food also. So it just got worse and worse. We finally got a restraining order against Linda, ended up going to court. Then they ended up actually having people come to his house, but they also put cameras inside his house to see who was coming and going, and cameras outside of the house. And asking, you know, anybody that would come, well, who are you? Why are you there? Well, we're friends of his, you know, we've been friends for years. And then one day, all of a sudden, Wayne went missing. Nobody could find Wayne. He was gone for 3 days. We didn't know what happened to him.
And there you go, moving the ward so he cannot be found. Not just
Yes.
once, I predict more than once, correct?
Yes, and so he was gone down to a hotel. They hid him out for 3 days. I got a phone call from Rose, and she said, I see Wayne's over raking leaves, run over and check on him and see where he's been. He told me, he goes, well, I went down to that nice hotel and I stayed for 3 days because they're fixing an electrical problem. And I said, what electrical problem? And so he told me that's where he'd been. Well, then right then, as I'm talking to him, all of a sudden a car pulls up and blocks my car. And I mean, they were there within seconds, probably because of the cameras. So I went out and I said, hi, my name is Sandy, I'm a friend of Wayne's, and who are you? And she said, well, you need to leave because we're taking Wayne out to lunch. And I was like, okay.
And who were those people?
She was a caregiver, as a supervisor caregiver. So I went home to do my work. And later that evening, I went down to River Shore Hotel with a friend. And I said, I wonder if Wayne is by any chance down here. So I went up to the restaurant manager and I said, can I get a burger and take it, you know, to his room if he's here? And they go, he's here. So I snuck up to the room, gave him his burger, and he was being held against his will. And he was like, I really want to go home. They said it's an electrical issue. Well, that night I went over to Rose and Jack's, told them what had happened. All the lights were on in the house. And they said he had absolutely no power to the house at all.
Right, and that brings up another typical tactic is make up any excuse you want. Make up any bullshit, I said it, bullshit story that you want because the judge will never ask about it, because you can get away with lying right to your teeth, right to someone's face, because once these predators are put into a position of power, there is nothing that a normal human being can do. Everything you say will be questioned and turned around on you. Everything they and their lawyers say will be accepted as the gospel truth, and every allegation they make against you will be considered the gospel truth. Yes, Mr. Foulon?
Yeah, a question. One of the things I think we all have in common that I still don't understand is the court visitor role. The court, you assume that the court visitor is looking for the truth, and the court, in our case, the court visitor talked to my wife, who was the petitioner, out of 3 rounds of visits, one time. never talked to her again, yet wrote a report that was scathing and full of so much. The attorney who tried to grill her got her to admit she had no credentials. She had not talked to any doctors, just on and on and on. Yet all of us have this in common where the court will rely on the court visitor report and they do not care.
And the
it's
answer to your question is the court visitor is a court insider. It is usually a person that the judge relies on over and over and over again. There is no incentive for them to do anything but what the judge wants them to do. Their reports will always show whatever the court tells them that they should show. And whether they tell them or not, they will always denigrate anyone who is opposed to the guardianship, even if it's a straight out blatant lie, and they will always support the court's position.
So Sue, you might tell what you told me, which is the court administrator.
Sue, are you there?
In many cases, the judges rely on the court administrator who supposedly tells the judge what's to do. And I think at the end of the day, those are the source of all of our problems start right then when that petition ends up in their desk and they decide what to do with it. And if that person has means and money, it goes into this predator system. If they don't,
you've forgotten one thing. You need to go one step above that. The problem is the judge. It's the judge, it's only the judge, and it's always the judge. The judge is completely untouchable. He can't be sued. He's not monitored or supervised. He's not capable of making mistakes according to the bar, and there is no way to attack him. I want to move on to Ms. Blount. What is your first name, ma'am?
My legal name is Annette Steiner.
Okay.
And I go by Bunny. And I got involved actually
with the same guardian, all of you with the same guardian?
Yes.
And repeat her name and spell it so there's no misunderstanding.
Ann Yella, Yela, I believe.
Okay. And where is she located?
I don't even know.
Does
Portland.
Anybody know?
She's
in
Portland,
Portland.
Oregon, I believe, is where her office is.
Couldn't understand it. Sue?
She has a Portland address. She's on 122nd in Portland.
And what picture are we looking at there?
That's a picture of her.
Let's bring it closer to the camera. Give her some notoriety. And I'm going to come back to you and we're going to ask about her credentials. Anyhow, let's get back to you.
To me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, Sandy was saying that I was bringing Wayne food. I actually didn't get involved until after he had disappeared. And I was reading on the Redland Next Door app that this man had needed help. They were trying to get his house back together because...
And repeat the name of the ward.
Wayne...
Yes.
I'm blanking on Falk, Wayne Falk.
Falk. So we're talking about the same guardianship here.
Yes.
Okay.
So Wayne had been kidnapped, as Sandy was talking about, and that's when I found out about it. And they were trying to get people to come and help get his house back together so that he could live in it, because they said that he wasn't capable of keeping up the house or something like that. And since I'm not a carpenter, can't do any of that stuff, I said, well, I can help with bringing food or taking him to the store or whatever. So I contacted, I'm sorry, I'm going blank on all the names.
Phyllis Dowry.
And she said, well, I've been driving him to Fred Meyer every Monday and I really don't have time to do that. Would you be willing to do that? So I said, sure. And I started driving him to Fred Meyer. I was contacted by Aniela saying I should take him at a different time of day because she wanted to come over and do something. And I said, well, you know, this is the time that he's most comfortable with. So I'm going to do what he's most comfortable with. So then I was contacted and said I was not allowed to take him anymore without a caregiver. I was texted. So to please contact her if my car would not accommodate a caregiver. And I didn't answer it because my car does accommodate a caregiver. I then was contacted by Phyllis on a Sunday evening, or whatever evening it was, saying that there were caregivers there around the clock. Wayne didn't want them there. He had called her and said he didn't want them there. What can be done?
So how have you been attacked by the court?
I was arrested.
I'm sorry.
I was arrested for trespassing when I came to pick Wayne up to take him for our weekly trip to Fred Meyer.
Okay, so now I have a question for all of you. And let's just talk one at a time. Why pick on this man or on Mr. Cook? Why them?
Money.
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 Money, 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 money. Sam, how much money are we talking about?
They've already taken $750,000, I believe, from my mom already.
Do you have any idea where it's gone?
Yeah, that son of a bitch stole it. That's where it went.
But do you know what he did with it?
No, Ann Yell is the one that took the damn money.
Well, so I'm talking, do you know what she did with it?
Oh, caregivers, you know, they're $35 an hour now, I believe, which is $450 a day. My mom spent it on them idiots. They've got a credit card on my mom on her damn account. The caregivers have one. They can do whatever they want to. They were taking my mom to the casinos and spending her damn money, driving her car to the casino. Some bitches were playing down there, gambling my mom's money. There's a whole bunch of shit going on here that needs to be straightened out with a piece of pipe or a damn baseball bat. Now, I hate a damn thief and a liar, and that's all we got in this, a bunch of thieves and liars in this deal. Right down to the friggin' cops in this town right here we're in. The county sheriffs are the same way. They're a bunch of no count. Said I was trying to steal money from my mom. The son bitches, I gave her the farm she sold, which brought over $800,000. I built her a new house, didn't charge her a dime for that. And all I get, and my nieces are the ones that stole a lot of money, and they wrote the damn trust, which forgave the money that they stole. My one niece had not a dime, lived with my mom, and had bought a business and paid cash for it out of my mom's account. And she wrote a trust and forgave it.
So what I'm hearing, and sadly I've heard this many, many, many times, is that this is a situation where a person with assets isn't thought to be worthy of having the benefit of those assets. Somebody wants their inheritance before somebody dies. Sam, is that the way you see it?
No, they're just thieves. They didn't. My mom raised every one of those kids because their moms were drug addicts, drunks, and thieves. Part of my sisters are in jail. They're all dead now, my sisters, or I had two, and it's a damn shame I had any. But I had two sisters in jail, out of jail, run off, stayed gone for 5 years, committed robberies.
And yet the court sided with them.
No, they're dead.
Sided with their children.
The court didn't have to side with them. They died, which made a lot of people happy. So
Sided with their children.
but they sided with them damn girls.
That's what I mean.
So far in court, I've never got to say a word.
Yeah. Okay. I want to shift this conversation a little bit. And later on, before we end, I'm going to ask each of you to give a contact number so that people around the country who think they might be able to support you or help you, you can give an email or a phone number, whatever you'd like. So just think that through. Let's start up top again with Bob. For the person who's watching this, who says, Dr. Sugar, this can't be true. This is America. Nothing like this could possibly happen. Why are you saying all these horrible things? Bob, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, you're in a hard place if your elder does need.
A little louder, please.
You're in a rock and a hard place, because the only way you can get protection for an elder who needs it is through the court system. And when you find yourself in that world and in the hands of a predator guardian who is only focused on money and who buys up every attorney firm in town and just greases their pockets and donates to judges. You think you can get justice through the courts by hiring your own attorney. It's not going to work. And the other thing that happened to us that you haven't brought up is the hospice industry. There's got to be finder's fees going on. I can't explain any of the reason why this predator guardian would have put my father-in-law in hospice when he wasn't qualified. It's the reason she resigned is because we called her on it. And
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a physician, as you probably know, and I will tell you what the reason is. Hospice pays really well.
Well, when you find yourself with an elder in the hands of a guardian who makes decisions for him that are that egregious, like putting him into hospice.
With no medical expertise whatsoever.
Worse, with lies that ended up catching this one. So I'm of the group, I'm the lucky one, but we're in the hands of another predator who replaced her. So I don't know that we're any better off. But what I would tell people is, if you can at all work it out on your own with your family and just do these things without going to the court system, stay away. Because if you go into it, you lose everything.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Rose.
Well,
Loud, please.
I mean, we've had some success. I mean, we've been able to put our story in the U.S. Observer twice. This predator, Aniela, has been in the Oregonian 4 times with another family named Ben Alfano under the name Farley Piazza. She's been in the Observer twice. We did get a bill passed through Nancy Nathanson. There's Sam in a picture with her. HB 2601. We're making some progress, slow. Yes. So, I mean, the word is getting out there, but it's, unfortunately, we're worried it's going to be too late for our family and friends before they're broke or
It
dead.
almost certainly will be too late because legislation takes forever. And even when the laws get changed, the judges don't pay attention. They just don't care, because that's not what these courts are all about. These are not courts of justice. These are courts of equity. And you got to understand the difference. That's why there's no juries in equity court. Rules of evidence don't apply. Rules of procedure don't apply. Ex parte meetings are the norm rather than the exception.
So what we need to do is work on getting the judges out.
Well, we're coming to that.
Okay.
Let me go back to Rose's group. Rhonda or Sandy, let's hear what you would tell to a person who doubts what we're all saying.
Like Bob, I would say, get a pair of boxing gloves for your family, go in a room, duke it out, and don't come out until you're all hugs and kisses and smiles. Because what these predator guardians and conservators do is they like to stir the pot amongst siblings, and like they did with my case, got my brother turned against me where he was on my side and my mother's, but now he's in bed with the conservator, Aniela, and they're now trying to take the guardianship and give it to Aniela and or my sister-in-law, who's had no involvement with our family for 30 years. So I say, do whatever you can to work it out, and let's break the guardian and conservators bang. You're right, we need to start with the judges. They need to have pressure put upon them so they are required to enforce the laws. An example, when we went to the hearing on my mom with the billing for Aniela, it was clear it was so bogus, full of inaccuracies, that when she was confronted at the hearing for the billing purpose, she kept saying at least 20 times, I don't have my file, I can't comment. Right then, the judge should have said, this hearing was based upon your billing practices, and I'm going to vacate it, throw it out, and you're not going to get a dime. She had so many notations where she charged my mom that she has met with family members. She never once met with my brother and I. And to this day, She has never met with me, and I have the power of attorney over my mom's health care. I am the primary health care agent for my mother, and she, along with DHS and APS, have been having secret meetings with Kaiser Hospital behind my back with the social worker, which are all HIPAA violations, which my attorney says we will go after Kaiser and sue them.
Yeah,
I have
and
so much
you will lose. And you will lose. You should know that the hospital industry across the United States and here in Florida, we just had one of the most explosive cases in history with a guardian who was getting paid from the hospital to throw people out of the hospital so that the hospital wouldn't lose money on bad cases. And she did this routinely to the point where she didn't particularly like one ward, so she had him killed with a DNR.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
the big argument now going on in Florida. And there was recently a law passed preventing guardians from writing DNRs without a judge's approval, but that isn't going to go anywhere either. Let's go to the last member of your group, and that would be
Sandy.
Sandy. Please speak up. What would you
Okay.
say to a doubter?
What I would say, and what scares me the most, it's not even the elderly people. It could be somebody like me, single, that has hardly any family around. That if I'm in a horrible car accident and I'm put into a rehab center, she can come in, she can be the guardian. I have a nice home, she can sell that off. She can get rid of my horse that I love, my dog that I love. And this could happen to anybody at any age.
It's well
That's
said.
what scares me.
Yeah. Sam, your turn.
Well, I don't know how to even start with, if you got a family like I've got, you're dealing with a bunch of thieves that have never done anything. My mom and dad raised them. My mom and dad lost the best part of their life raising these kids. Then they turn around and do this to them. My dad's passed away. But you can't talk to these people. They're into take care of themselves, and that's all there is to it. So
You consider them dangerous?
you judges, you can't do anything with them. They don't care what I think. As long as they're making money off Angela and everybody else is, hell, it's just what they want.
So do you consider these people dangerous?
No, they consider me dangerous,
Yeah.
I believe. I believe it's the opposite setup there. And I think I think that was part of the deal. They told the judge, that I wasn't fit to be around my mom. Well, I took care of my mom's yard or garden, took her shopping, did everything with my mom. But no, it was all my fault that what went on, that they stole all the money and stuff, that was.
Right. That's the
You need
typical
court appointed
statement
attorney.
of vilifying the caregiver. The person who's invested their time and money and effort and love into taking care of a vulnerable elder is the one they attack because they accuse them of stuff and you can't disprove a negative. Once somebody calls you a miscreant or an evildoer like they did me, I know exactly what you're talking about. You can't, how can you say, no, that's not true, especially when you don't even get a chance to talk in front of these hearings. So let's go down now to our last entrant. What would you say to somebody who doesn't believe what you're saying?
Said, I just hope your family gets into the same mess I'm in. If you don't believe it, let it happen.
How about you?
Me?
Yeah.
I would say I didn't believe it either. And if I read about it and we're watching something like this, I would say the same thing. This is crazy. This doesn't happen, but it does happen, and it happens all over the country. And as Sandy said, it could happen to us at any age, and it's just despicable.
And so, now, if you guys can cram together again, I want to do something with a show of hands. Okay, I would like to know of this entire group, have you lost faith in our government as a result of your experience here? Raise your hand if you have. Universal. Have you lost faith
before this? So
have you lost faith in the courts? Okay, last question. Do you believe that it's possible to beat this system?
We're
Those who
trying.
do believe.
No,
No,
no.
No.
Right.
I've got to believe it. I've got to believe it or I'm doomed.
Well, let's hope our minority is right. I want to go around the room now and get some way for the people who watch this to contact each and every one of you. You can give your phone number, you can give your email, or if you prefer not to do anything, that's fine too, but I want to give you the opportunity. So Bob, you're first.
Sure. People can text me at 425-753-6682.
And let's go to Rose.
I have an email address of ladyjustice444@yahoo.
Good. Sandy.
You can text me at 971-207-2571.
And Rhonda.
you can text me at 971-336-9433.
Great. Sue.
You can email me at rmnails.com, rmnails@gmail.com.
NAILS.
Yes.
Okay. Sam.
You can just call me, 503-927-5178.
And Marquis last, next to last.
You can text me at 503-475-8034, and I'd love to hear from you.
And lastly.
I prefer not to be contacted.
Fine, I understand completely. Ladies and gentlemen, our viewing audience, this has been a unique experience. We have not been able to get a group like this together before. I'm sure it's not the last time this is going to happen. But I want everybody who's watched this to understand that all of these people are describing a process, a racket that is going on all over this country. I did my best to describe it and elucidate it in my book, which is Guardianships and the Elderly, The Perfect Crime. It's available on Amazon. Take a look at our website and the U.S. Observer from Oregon. All of these Oregonians, good, solid people, are being destroyed by a system that is based on greed and power and a lack of accountability on the part of our judicial system. We need to get together. We need to do whatever we can to make this stop. Last comments from everybody, starting with you, Bob.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, the whole system should have been designed and was designed in the law to protect the elder and respect their wishes and what's in their to their benefit, and to find professional fiduciaries who assume that role for substitute judgment, I think you call it, and to not do it is not just wrong, it's evil.
Let's go to Sue, Sam, and Markey. Last comments? Sue?
I
Speechless.
Yes, I am speechless because as a group, we've gone to our local wings and were not necessarily received with open arms. I had filed complaint with the Center for Guardianship Certification back in January, have heard nothing. I filed a complaint with the Oregon State Bar Association and detailed multiple examples where Aniela has an attorney representing her. And then on another case, that same attorney is representing a client where she's the guardian and conservator. And the Bar Association says, nothing.
The cards are stacked against you.
You just don't believe it unless you get involved in it. People don't believe it unless you actually get involved.
Well, maybe now they will. Sam, last comment for you.
Well, she's bought every attorney in the state here, almost on this end of the state anyway, and Yella has. So if there's an attorney out there that has any nerve, he can make himself very wealthy by putting these people out of business, helping us do it. So that's all I got to say about it. If you don't believe it, try it yourself, because it's not a good thing.
And Markey?
Well, I just like to bring up the point that anytime any of us do anything against Aniela or the guardians or the caregivers or anything as far as verbally saying anything or doing anything. It is Ethel that gets punished. They'll add hours to her caregivers. They will put more restrictions on her. And by doing that, we feel like, you know, our hands are totally tied because we don't want to hurt Ethel. So, and if you get into a situation, you see yourself going down this road where there's going to be a third party guardian, no matter what she or he tells you or the attorney tells you, get it in writing because they will deny everything.
And now we go to our, let's see, did we do Rhonda, Rose, and Sandy last comments?
Because we've been in the Oregonian and the US Observer, it's shocking the number of people that have contacted us asking for help, you know, these individuals as well. That's how we all came into contact. Yale has about 60 to 70 wards, and on April 23rd, we just got another contact where we have a family member of a ward stating that Yale, in essence, murdered their parent. So we are, you know, need to get in contact with them, but it's just shocking how much response that we've received.
So you're doing great advocacy work. God bless you for that.
I wrote to Kirk Schrader, who is our US Congressman representing Oregon. I forwarded all of my mom's court documents to him. He was absolutely appalled. He wasn't even aware of the lack of oversight for guardians and conservatorships nationwide, let alone his own state, Oregon. So he took all of my mom's documents, forwarded them to the Governor Advocacy's office, which is overseen by our governor, and said, please investigate. I clearly suggest that there is, or highly suggest that there is lots of fraud and that this lady was appointed fraudulently a conservator who never did go talk to the doctors. The doctor, actually, the geriatric neurologist, said he had never spoken to my mom's attorney or to anybody. And he said, and I would have denied writing a letter suggesting support that your mom needs a guardian or conservator, even to this day. He said she does not. The Governor Advocacy's office sent an email back to US Congressman Kirk Schrader and myself stating they were not going to investigate because they only investigate APS. And I said, but APS is guilty. I have hard evidence to prove that their guilt, but they didn't do anything. I also went to a town hall with US Senator Ron Wyden, who also represents Oregon at Washington, DC. And at that town hall, I was given much more time to discuss this because he was appalled and said that they would
Actually,
get
I've actually heard him speak in the Special Select Committee on Aging, and he's made his feelings very clear. He's appalled, but here's the problem. This is a state court problem and the feds don't have any authority. None.
That is true. So what has happened, this town hall hearing was in January. Aniela has now contacted my attorney and is threatening to sue me if I don't remove from my Facebook page the video that was taken of me at Ron Wyden's town hall. So what she does is she threatens people, and because she's got all the power, she's got all of our family's money. So she is protected by all of these lawyers that she has, you know, tied up in our courts here in Oregon. It took me 15 law firms before I finally found one, and it was through the US Observer that was representing Wayne Fall that I found my mom.
Well, that's an amazing story. And next in that group, is that going to be Sandy? Final comments, Sandy, please.
Yeah, thank goodness for everybody in the Redland community that came together for Wayne. And we're getting word out there. We're all going to fight as hard as we can. We have to re-elect better judges. And that's all I can say. pray for everybody. I'm sorry everybody's going through this. It's
Oh, don't
absolutely
forget we have an
horrible.
election coming up.
Oh, I'm voting and I'm a big mouth.
Yeah.
Me too.
And lastly, last comment. That's you.
That's me. I'm just appalled. The thing I want to emphasize too is, as Rhonda was saying, Anne was threatening her and having attorneys write letters. I'll bet you that she was also charging her mother's estate for every hour that
Of
that
course.
attorney spends on
Of
writing the
course.
letters.
Yeah.
That's what it's just, it's
For the
another-
benefit of the ward, for the best interests
Right.
of the ward.
Right, exactly.
Well, this has been an enlightening and amazing meeting. I want to thank all of you. For those of you who are listening, please, if you want to, contact these good people who are trying to do the right thing in a system that just doesn't want to let them do the right thing. On behalf of everybody at AAAPG, thank you for watching. Thank you for participating, and good day.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.